Hi everyone. Today I want to focus on putting together the new box right here from the Parcels and Petals bundle. This is a new bundle that's coming out on June 4th in the 2019-2020 annual catalog. And it's a really fun box. It's a box we haven't had before. I am calling it a chocolate shop or a fudge box, because that's what it kind of seems like to me. And I thought I would show how to put it together. I did another video on a card I made with this stamp set, and I showed these boxes, but I've had a couple of emails about putting together, and I meant to make a video anyway, but people have been asking as well, on how to make the box longer. So I made, this is the size that the die makes if you just use it as is, and this is a really cute size. You can get, you know, sometimes when a box is too big, you have to fill it with so many chocolates. So this is a nice size to roll up some cash. Maybe you're giving some cash to a graduate, or some chocolates, little gifts, lip balms, little small things. It's really a nice size. You can get some decent things in there, but it's not overwhelming, and I like that. But every once in a while you might want something a little longer, and so for this one I made a longer version, and that's what I want to focus on today. I want to focus on how do you put this together, because it's different than what we're used to, and how do we make it longer. First I want to show you the stamp set though, and the dies. This is the stamp set, and my favorite are these florals here. I love watercolor. If you've watched my videos before, you know that. And so this has a watercolor look to it, and I take it further by actually adding some watercolor techniques to that stamp set, so it gives it even more. There's a video on this already, and there will be one on this one. So this is a very pretty stamp set, and another great thing about it is that it has a few sentiments in it for different things that are not, they're not odd, they're basics, which is great. So we've got a to from, which, you know, you can use a lot on a box, but also a thank you, and that's great for cards and boxes. Maybe you're giving someone a little gift of chocolates for a thank you. I like this "you did it." That would be great for a graduate. You're the best. Birthday cheer to you all year. Great on a box or a card, and somebody loves you lots and lots. The sentiments for this are super useful, so I love the sentiments on here. I love the floral image, and then this is a really fun image that fits directly on the side, see that, of the standard box size. Or you can use it on a background of your card as well. So this is a really fun little stamp. And then this little tiny one here is really cute. I put it on the inside of this card next to the "You're the Best." So that little stamp is fun too. So I think this is a great stamp set by itself, and the fact that there's a die collection that goes with it is just icing on the cake. So here are the dies. It makes a box, so you've got the box die, and you need to cut 2 of these. There's also a tag topper die, which is awesome, and 2 labels. Then there are some detail dies, like this really fun lacy look, which is really pretty. And then you've got some accents here, like this little cutout here. I used it, here's that tag topper, and then see there's that cutout. I used it twice, one on either side of this, and then I layered some paper behind it, so you've got, I'll put that closer, some of that Coastal Cabana peeking through behind the white, and it's really a fun look. I've got the reversible Coastal Cabana granny apple green ribbon. I've got that kind of mirrored on the tag, so that's fun. There's that lace cut out. So the dies are super fun. This is a little stitched die. I used that, I don't know if you can see it, on the bottom of this tag. So the dies are great, and I think my favorite that I've used on, I don't know, maybe 20 cards already, is this fun little label. It's a great size. So I used it right here on my thank you, and right here, and on a bunch of other things as well. Here it is on the tag. So this is a really fun die. Anyway, so it's a great die collection, and this video is not going to do any stamping. We're going to go ahead and make the box. So we're going to do that right now. Let's put all this aside. So first, let's put together the standard box. You need 2 of your box shapes. And the first thing you should do is, if you're going to do stamping, do that right now while it's flat. And then if you're going to, then you're going to put it together and fold it. So we're going to go ahead and fold. Now I would grab your bone folder and burnish all those score lines. So there you go. Now you're going to add some adhesive on the little tabs. That's your next step. And I like to use tear tape on my tabs. I get very messy with liquid glue. I am going to use liquid glue again in a little bit, but I just like the tear tape on the little tabs for some reason. And you got, now the tear tape's a little long, so I just fold it over onto itself so that the adhesive is all on the tab and not sticking over the side. And now you're just going to line those up. Okay, so now you've got your basic box shape. The bottom of the box is where it's a little trickier. So let's go to the bottom. Now the bottom is the side that has the little rounded edges, these little rounded bits. There's also a score line here, if you'll notice, and that you want to fold outward. Like that. And how you attach this is kind of tricky. So you want to fold these in and add a little adhesive here. Now here I am going to use the liquid glue. It just is a little bit easier to get it exactly where you want it, and it dries pretty fast. I use the Stampin' Up! Tombow multi-purpose. So you've got your glue here. You're going to want to fold it, pushing down and then folding it flat. So they're kind of going up, folding up on themselves. So I'm going to go super slow motion, push it down while you're doing it, so it's kind of tucking in. It's attaching itself to this little flap here. So just kind of go slow for a second, and the glue kind of, it holds pretty fast. So you're just going to do that, and then when you open it back up, slide those little tabs behind each other and it locks closed. But if you ever do want to flatten it, you just press there and flatten it up again. So that is a fun little box. And the nice thing about it is it's not adhered closed, it's not stuck closed. You can open and close it and flatten it, and it's really nice. So that's your basic shape. And now here you're going to pull these out kind of like the milk carton top. And they tuck into the sides. Now you're going to want to get them nice and flat, and then just tuck them underneath that little slit there. And that's it. That's how you do this one. Okay, so to make the box longer requires a little bit of finagling. I don't know if that's a real word, but that's what I'm going to use. So here's my longer box. So the only difference here is these little tabs are going to still work, but this little interlocking rounded one does not. You can either cut it off, or like on this one I just glued it shut, or you can just let it be a tab. It doesn't affect anything. This part is still going to work, and that way you can still make your box flat. Anyway, we're going to make another one together, so let me show you how you're going to cut this out. You're going to start by cutting your 8.5 by 11 cardstock in half the long way, so at 4 1/4. Okay, to cut for your longer box, you've got your 2 sheets of cardstock. You're going to do them one at a time. You're going to place your die at the top of your cardstock, but the bottom you want to hang off the edge of the platform. You want to make sure you clear all your little bottom cuts here. And you're going to Put your top plate on and run it through the machine. So see how this is hanging off? That means it's not going to cut there. Now you're going to try to do the second one pretty similarly. Place it down, try to keep it close to the edge so you kind of have an idea of how long it is. Bring it down, making sure to clear all the cuts at the end. Make sure they hang past your platform and run it through your cutting machine. Now you're going to need a cutter that has a scoring blade as well as a cutting blade. To make this easier to line up, cut off this little excess bits here. And what you're going to do is, I like to line it up with the flat side of the paper. That's why I was very careful to make sure that I put my die in very straight. Oh, first, decide how long you want these. For example, if you want to add 1 inch to your box or 1.5 inches, what do you want to add to your box? I'm going to add 1.5 inches to my box. So I'm going to line these up together. You want to make sure that this edge is lined up perfectly because you want these to be the exact same size, otherwise your box is going to be wonky. So if you want to add 1.5 inches to your box, just cut out 1.5 inches past, and then add some for the tab. And I used a quarter of an inch for the tab. So if you want it to be 1.5 inches longer, you're going to add 1 3/4 inches, and then you're going to cut it. Now, if you only have a cutting like this, you can't go through 2 pieces of cardstock at the same time. That's okay. Cut one, then line it up and make yourself a mark and cut the second one to make sure they're the same size. They really have to be the same size. If you're off, your box is going to be not squared up. So I'm adding inch and 3/4 to my box, putting the end at 6 3/4 and cutting. If you have a guillotine cutter, you can cut through both layers at the same time. That's nice. But if you don't, it's not a huge problem. You can go ahead and note where you cut on this side. Mine was 6 3/4, so I'm going to go ahead and line that up at 6 3/4. But I'm just going to lay this box on top just to be sure, because you really do want them the same. Okay, so now my boxes are the same. And on the flat side, against the end of my scoring tool here, I'm going to make sure that my score line that came with the box die, because it already has the score lines in it, line that up with the score line in your paper cutter, trimmer, scorer, machine-y type thing. And you're going to continue. What you're going to do is continue out that score line, bringing it all the way to the end of the cardstock. So see, I just continued that score line. Same thing with this score line. You're going to continue it out. So I like to cut the end of my paper off, that part that was scrap at the end, so I can see that this track lines up with this score line. So I've continued it up. Now you want to continue the cut line on this one, so you want to use your cutting blade here. And then on the bottom, or top, what have you. So line up that cutting area and continue it out. Same thing on this one. You're going to line up your cut lines and your score lines. This is a cut line. And the next one is a score line. and a cut line. Alright, now remember I wanted a 1/4 inch flap, so then you're going to move this to your 1/4 inch mark. It's not quite flat here at the bottom. I'm going to straighten that up. So I want to add a flap. And I'm going to add a flap by making a score here. I'm going to make sure they're the same. They are. And now you're going to cut those marks, cut the little notches just like the die had. So you're going to cut in this area and cut off the area that's on the side where it has this little round bump out. So that's going to go away completely.
Okay. Yeah.
And that way it looks like the end that came on the die. Now you can do the same thing if you want a shorter box. So let's say you want your box to be a little bit more square. All you're going to do there is cut it shorter where you want the box to end, and then add the same little flap notch design on the bottom of that one. So you can make this any size you want. Play around with it. Like I said, the only thing that's going to happen is this little rounded area is no longer going to be that nice little interlocking piece. It's just going to be flat across. So let's go ahead and fold this one. So you can cut this notch off if it bothers you, or leave it on. That is up to you. I'm going to straighten it out, clean it up a little bit. There. Okay, I'm going to speed up the video while I burnish all my score lines. Okay, so I've got my tear tape on the flaps, and I'm going to attach the two pieces together. Okay, so one thing to note on this die, see how it goes up a little bit and then back down again? We don't have that back down again because we left this off. So you're going to notice that it's different. There's a little notch here and there's not one on this side. You can go ahead and cut that in if you want. You really won't notice it, but you can just trim it up a little bit. So you're just going to cut a little tiny notch and then clean that off. So it's got this little tiny notch so that it matches this side. See, I'm talking about this little area here comes on the die, but we didn't get it over here because we cut that off. It's real simple. I usually do it once it's already put together and done instead of doing it ahead of time. So we'll do this side. I'll show it to you again. You want that itty bitty little notch on this side and then clean it off on that side. There. Okay, so your box is done. Now you're going to put it together just like before. You're going to fold this flap out like little wings and add your liquid adhesive. Tear tape will work for this too, but I just think the liquid is easier because you just need a little bit of give to it for a second while you're lining it up. Okay, now you're going to you're going to fold and flatten at the same time. So what you're doing is you're pushing this down, but you're also flattening it. See how that kind of, this little triangle finishes off this triangle there? If that makes sense. And you're flattening. I'm going to get up close, and you're going to press. And just hold it for a second while that glue dries. And then you'll pop it back out and it'll close nicely. See? There. Once you do it once, it's easy. Now the only thing, remember I was telling you, these are not going to line up correctly anymore. So you can either cut them off or add a little bit of adhesive on the back of one of them. That's what I do. So how I do it is I add a little bit of adhesive just on one of them. Like that. And then, now if you do that though, you're not going to be able to open and close it. You're not going to be able to flatten it again. But if you're done, you know you don't want to flatten it again, that's the time to do it. And then when you turn it over onto your desk, throw one of your little stamp blocks in there for a second and it'll hold it down. Just for a second. And then it'll be nice and adhered. And like I said, you won't be able to flatten it again. So it depends on if you want to be able to flatten it. If you don't, having that not line up is okay. It's not a big deal. I should have left it for a second longer. It does really glue fast. So you can do that while you do your milk carton sides. Just kind of get them ready and burnished. And then when you're all set, you're going to tuck those in and tuck that flap right underneath there. Alright, see? So that is a decorated one. I want to show you that tag again. I think it's really cute. That little stitch detail. Okay, here's the bigger version that I just did. See how it's not like that? I didn't do this side. It's a little harder to do the second side when there's nothing in it. Oh, it was easy. Alright, so if that was, that's how it would look if you don't add any adhesive on the bottom, which is fine, it's the bottom. And you're going to put something like ribbon or a belly band. You're going to decorate the box. Nobody's going to really look at the bottom. It's nice to be able to fold it flat again for storage if you've used it once, or if that person who you gave it to uses it once, they can use it again. It's really a cute little box. Like I said, it's like a chocolate box or a fudge shop box. Really cute. I think it's a sweet little box. I hope you like it. And I think you're really going to like the stamp set that goes with it and the dies. See the really fun dies that go with that. I think the die collection here is really great. Here I used the tag topper as a belly band, and I added some of that lace detail. So it's a really fun stamp set. It's a really fun die collection. I hope you'll give it a try. Woo! Check out my video for this. It's called Blurred Watercolor, and it looks like a watercolor painting gone wild and free. It's really fun. And then I'm going to do this one, which is a more controlled watercolor look. And that's it. Thank you so much for watching. I hope it all made sense for you. And let me know in the comments if you need me to do it again, or if you have any questions on how to get the products. They are going to be available on June 4th at my blog, bestpapercuts.com, when the new catalog goes live. Thanks so much for watching. Bye-bye.